Approaches, Success Story and Challenges, that's our title. This webinar is hosted by the Discuss project, so you see the little logo up there in our room, and which made it possible so that each of us come together here to present the topics on our agenda. And I'm happy to have several community builders here with us in the room who will present the virtual communities of practice that they are engaged in, as well as aims, achievements, and so forth, but also the challenges that they face in connecting people for lifelong learning. And we start out with Maria Holguera and Nicola, and both work for the Academy for International Cooperation at GIZ. GIZ is a German cooperation agency which has been working for more than 50 years on big topics such as economic development and employment, energy and the environment, as well as peace and security. And Nicola, she is an advisor for didactics and methodology in continuing education. Maria Holguera Baez, she is at the moment involved in a peer collaboration network that supports organization to ensure the quality of technology enhanced learning called the Open ECP Check, and she's also working with in a team on the development on a MOOC, for example, which is going to start next year, I think, Quality in Digital Learning. And both Nicola and Maria coordinated the e-learning for capacity development program for the Latin American region. And this program provides assistance and advice on how to introduce or further develop e-learning and new media within institution. And how this works in detail, they are here to tell us. So the word goes to you, Nicola and Maria. Looking forward.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation and for this brief introduction. I think we should directly jump in and should not mention more details about GIZ. So why we are here is in order to present this e-learning network, which is called Educ, and we would like to start with some details about the history and the structure of this network. The next slide, please. Or am I able to? Okay.
Yeah. Just click.
Yes, thanks. Maria, would you like to continue? Okay. So it seems that Maria has problems with her microphone. So
yeah, sorry, Nicola.
Okay, sorry.
My microphone was muted, and I was waiting also for the presentation to be loaded because I couldn't see it. Yeah, so. Hello, can you hear me? I might have some problems with my connection.
Yeah, Maria, I can hear you, and but I can't see you at the moment, so you could put your camera back on again. There we are.
Okay, yeah, sorry for that. I hope now it's working properly. So yeah, hello everybody also from my side. It's a pleasure to be here today with you to talk about Educal. Educal stands for Capacity Development in the Field of Distance Education in Latin America. This network was born in 2005 and it was a common project from GIZ, or at that moment Invent, and some institution working in the field of e-learning. So at the beginning there were 6 funders institution, the ones that you can see there, like representing different countries in Latin America. And since then, many institutions have joined this network, and right now are more or less 30 institutions partnering with this network, and more than 100 people active in the network. And I think a very important aspect is that, of course, the language is Spanish. So this is something quite good for such a big network representing 70 countries in the whole Latin America. Are almost all there, but not all yet. And there is a steering committee for the core activities of the network, and this group is changing every 2 years. So all the members have the possibility to be very active in the network, and yeah, and promoting it. Yep. So what are the goals of the network, Nicola? Nicola, are you there?
Sorry, can you hear me now? I also have problems with the connection. I hope you can hear me now. So, yeah, the main goal of Educal is the contribution to individuals' professional development through activities in the field of further education, and through strengthening the capacities in the field of virtual education. And to do so, the idea is to offer dialogue and cooperation in order to share experiences in the field of e-learning. Quality is, of course, a very important topic. So the fostering of the quality of e-learning in the whole region is one important goal also. And the stimulation also of the creation of policies in the region in order to promote e-learning in the field of quality. Organizing and structuring the participation of institutions which offer e-learning and further products of innovation and quality is another important goal of Educal.
And what does Educal offer? This community offers advice on e-learning, on how to develop and implement e-learning within an institution. One example is the program called IDEL in Spanish, or ELDI in English. It's an e-learning development and implementation program. It's a blended learning course which offers a holistic vision of all the most important elements in order to offer e-learning activities. And we have been offering this program together with Educal for the last 10 years, and now they have the ownership on this program, and they are also contracted by other institutions or by programs within the GIZ to bring the knowledge and expertise in the field of e-learning. They also offer online discussions on the topic of e-learning on their website to different topics. and also an quality observatory to assure the quality of e-learning activities. The program or the initiative that Anne mentioned before, ECB-Tech, is also represented by Educal within this international initiative, but this network has also adjust the criteria to their own needs and yeah, the context of Latin America. And the network is also open to any interested person and institution working in the field of e-learning in Latin America or in other continents. But as I said before, the language is Spanish. So, but it's also open to other countries, of course.
Yeah, of course, there are some challenges the network and we in cooperation with them have to struggle with, and we consider that the main problem or challenge is the structure of this network. As Maria mentioned before, Educal has a steering committee which is elected every 2 years, and our experience is that these elections or the process of preparation and developing these elections, it takes time, and the new steering committee, of course, always needs time to start activities and to coordinate the work and so on. The motivation and maintaining the members of the community active, well, this is a common problem or challenge for virtual communities, I think. And our experience is that face-to-face collaboration, that is to say, some or meetings from time to time with the network or representatives from the network always helps to reactivate the community. Yes, time, of course, is another factor. The members of the network and members of the steering committee, of course, they are professionals, they have their jobs, and sometimes also very active members disappear because of, well, professional challenges they are facing, and so the continuity of activities at times, yeah, is difficult to maintain it. Yes, I think those challenges are common in virtual communities, and maybe later on we will also have some minutes in order to exchange our experiences on these challenges and to discuss maybe how to overcome them.
Yeah, and based on these challenges, we would like to share some questions with you. So, what does a virtual community of practice need? A leader? So, and with leader we mean like a leading unit. So, one person or a group who is responsible for motivating other participants, other members of this community, for bringing some new ideas in the community, and so on. And from your point of view, what are the key elements to motivate the members of a virtual community of practice? Because as Nicola just said, the motivation is always an issue. If you meet time to time, face to face, in conferences and other events, I think it's sometimes easier than to be motivated, but by also these elements. But maybe there are other things that you you have already experienced that could also help Educal to be more active sometimes. And do you think that a community of practice can just be virtual? So there are no face-to-face events, there are no opportunities to meet yeah, in person, and yeah, we would appreciate if we could also have some experiences, some inputs also from your side. So the presentation was very short, I know, but if you after this session, if you would like to know more about Educal, you can also contact us. So now it's your turn.
Perfect. Thanks, Maria and Nicola. I see their first answer is coming into the questions here in the chat. So, for example, Johanni is saying, yeah, a community can be virtual, but his experience shows that it strongly enforces if there are face-to-face meeting opportunities. So I think now we get around 25 participants in the room. Feel free to answer the questions in the chat that now is in the middle of the screen. How did you approach this, Maria and Nicola? Maybe in the meantime, did you decide that specific people are responsible to motivate, to engage, or to lead specific topics in the Educ community?
Yes. Well, as we mentioned, the structure of Educal is there's the steering committee, and they normally have the role to motivate the members of the network and to give input to structure topics, to develop working groups, for example, to coordinate activities among the members also. But it takes a lot of time to keep a network running and to motivate different working groups and coordinate processes. And someone mentioned or said it depends on the leader, and that's right. Sometimes in some years we had a very active steering committee and maybe persons with a lot of time, and in other times there are members of the steering committees with well, facing, for example, professional challenges, and they don't have a lot or enough time to spend for the coordination of the activities. And our experience is that, well, yeah, it depends on the role of this coordinators, if the network is active or not.
All right. So thanks for that. To everyone here in the room with us, feel free to discuss a bit further throughout the webinar. And thanks, Maria and Nicola, for the presentation of the GIZ activities with focus on the Educal network. Now, next on our list of speakers, we got Randolph Preisinger-Kleine, who you see already here on the left with us. And Randolph is a senior researcher at Praxis and Wissenschaft, which would translate, I'm not sure whether I should translate, but it would translate into practice and science in English. And he has expertise on the topic of learning cities and regions. And since 98, he works on quality development in vocational education and training and adult education. And since 2004, he's concerned with e-learning development, development of social software architecture, and pedagogy frameworks for virtual learning environment. And he has developed various virtual communities of practice with a European scale also on topics such as validating informal learning, career counseling, and supporting the transition from school to university or work, but also learning cities. And now I'd like to hand over to Randolph, who will present the Discuss community for lifelong learning. Here we go.
So thank you. Welcome to you all. And thanks, Anne, for these nice words and this description of my person, which I find it always very interesting when people talk about me and say I have this expertise, that expertise, this experience, that experience. It's very interesting because it's every time it's a bit different. So and I still try to puzzle things together to what I would say call an identity or something. So quite interesting. Now to what we are doing now related to communities of practice or building community of practice is simply that we are actually conducting a project on this topic. The title is to build a European platform for communities of practice in lifelong learning. You see the title here on. Hope you see the title here on this slide. And the name of this project is Discuss. And so maybe some words on the history of this project. I myself worked since quite 25 years on European projects in different areas of lifelong learning. And of course, during these decades, I work with a lot of people, hundreds and maybe 1,000 people or so, and after a while you start thinking, why is this so complicated to work across organizational borders, across project borders? Why it is so difficult to collaborate with other people in this European context? And of course, you meet a lot of people saying or asking, how could we improve this situation? We have all produced wonderful things, and we have found brilliant solutions for solving problems. But our problem still is we cannot really capitalize on our own results because we are not able to cooperate with others in this area. This would be a big step forward if we could manage to build, let's say, something like a community of practice in which we could share our experience or our ideas and so on. So this is basically the history of this project. And so we participated in a call and we got the grant finally. And this project is running under the Key Activity 4 strand of the European Union's Lifelong Learning Program. And I myself am let's say, the technical coordinator of the project. I'm also responsible for building the community platform. You see, I think the link somewhere here on this page. And what I will show you now is simply, okay, I can here with these small things. What are we aiming for? So basically this is wrong because we are at the end of the project. So so it should be what have we aimed for when we started this project. So our aim was to develop a state-of-the-art platform for communities of practice, helping to foster the dialogue and exchange between the beneficiaries and users of the European Lifelong Learning Program, and we actually do this also in the Erasmus Plus program. So we have more or less expanded the notion here. The next one is, of course, let me go back to this one. You see that this state of the art, of course, we could discuss what state of the art is. We thought of state of the art in terms of functionalities and features we offer to the users of the platform. The next one is, of course, we want to bring together project actors, such as or experts and stakeholders, also decision makers and end users. It was very important for us that we do not only have, let's say, people working on projects or experts, but also people who could use the results of these projects or make use of these results or being interested in the results of these kind of projects. And we wanted to bring together all these different people in a collaborative environment. Next one is what were the specific aims? It was to build the organizational capacities, the software tools, of course, and the technical infrastructure for these communities of practice. The second one is taken from Wenger's, I think it's from Wenger's book on how to build communities of practice. Don't exactly remember how the title was. Anyway, he said it's very important to create excitement, relevance, value. This is the three things I think he sees as the most important features of the community. Then the next one is to scaffold collaboration and mutual learning across communities of practice. That was a very important point for us, that, for example, people working in the adult education area, the idea was not to create something like ePail and only for one group of people who are concerned with one aspect of lifelong learning, but bring together from people from different areas of lifelong learning, so to enable them to learn across communities of practice. So, of course, we had some kind of theoretical foundation. I think it's not so important here. We built on, of course, Wenger, and we built on Engström, on boundary objects, third spaces, things like that. But I think this is not so interesting here because we talk about real practice. So let me go to the next one. We thought of thinking of the platform. We thought of having three pillars here. This is based on really experience we made with building other platforms, not necessarily in the area of education and learning. For example, we built also platforms for the creative industries here in Germany. And so we thought of three main pillars here. First one, information. Our idea is, or experience is, that without any information, people don't go to a platform. So there must be something relevant for them, some information, some blogs, some news, something of interest for people. The next one is collaborative workspaces. That means to enable or allowing people to collaborate or to work together on a certain subject or an initiative they want found. something like that. So, and the third one is the social network. We thought of it should have also let's say a social dimension, though people meet there not only as professionals but also as persons. So and we would allow people. We thought of giving people also space for sharing the social, let's say the social aspect of their life. This does not mean that we want to imitate Facebook, but it's we wanted to bring in something more personal, not only such as LinkedIn, professional relations between people, but also social, personal relations. Then the workflow, we developed a workflow, how we would do that. And we had so-called thematic areas. So we have, for example, validation of informal learning or social cohesion, and we have quality in education, all those thematic areas. So in the meantime, we have, I think, 20 or 25 thematic areas to which people have start to build communities or discussion groups, and of course each of these thematic areas linked up with a cluster of paused and ongoing projects which took place in these areas. So what is the platform architecture? You see, this is, I already mentioned that is information. You see this on the left hand. Then we have the social network, the collaborative workspaces, and this triangle more or less makes discuss. So the information section holds information news compiled from project websites, tools, allowing for knowledge sharing. For example, here you will find, when you go to the platforms, you will find a library here and things like that. So you can upload documents or download them or exchange them. So there's also file exchange. So this is more or less information section for different kind of information. Next one is the collaborative workspaces, which is different kinds of communication and again of sharing items, discussion groups, of course, and then we have the social networks. The social networks are mainly relations between people, and these relations can be based on different criteria. And we actually are working on having different profiles also for people, so they in the future people can have different profiles with according to their different interests in collaborating with other people or taking part or participating in the community. So I think this is the most important aspects. The rest is not so relevant for this. So this was a short overview of what we have done over the past, let's say, 26 months, and the platform now is 99% finished. And so we're doing some small improvements now, but this is more in terms of technology. And so yeah, this is all for the moment, I think.
All right, so thank you, Randolph, for presenting the discuss communities for lifelong learning to us. I think people might have some questions in the chat. Don't disappear so quickly. Stay with us. And I think after reading here, there were some discussions going on in relation to the EPAL platform. But I think you might have mentioned already that you have with your with the platform that you're building, you have a wider focus, right? So there's quite a difference.
I mean, our platform, the idea from the beginning was to bring in people from very, very heterogeneous areas of lifelong learning. That was not so in EPAL. They have more specialized on adult education. Of course, adult education is a very broad, has a very broad scope. This is okay. But we also include higher education and vocational education training and other things which are not in the official, let's say, agenda of community policies or so. And so we are looking for new areas we could let's say, explore. So this is a bit different, and I think also the approach is a bit different because we started from the viewpoint of the project actors. That's what I told when that's what I meant when I told you that this short history of the project. So we started from the experience as project actors, as people interested in lifelong learning, rather than an approach starting from the, let's say, from a policy aspect to say we need to strengthen adult education in Europe. That is a completely different approach, I think.
All right, understood. I think Mia also had a question here in the chat. She's wondering how wide the access is to the platform. Do you mean how many users there are, or whether everybody can register? I see Mia is typing.
I think here's a message from Johanni Larianko. I'm not perfect in. I think Larianko is Norwegian or something like that. Anyway, I think there is I always avoid to say something is bottom down, bottom up, or is top down, because this puts initiatives in a kind of a box or so, because also EPAL is more than only a top-down approach. So people participate in that and they're trying to find their own ways there. But I think the history is a different one. Let's say the deeper structure is a different one. We started from the viewpoint of the people working in these lifelong areas. And EPAL started from the idea to support adult educators in improving adult education throughout Europe. So I think this is a very different perspective. It's not necessarily top-down or bottom-up, and I think both approaches are approaches in their own right.
All right, thank you, Randolph. Now it's time. Even if I don't want to interrupt the discussion too much, but feel free in the meantime to discuss a little further with Randolph in the chat. Because now it's time for our next presenter. I see Marina's slide coming up already. So hello, Marina Jiménez. She works for the European Schoolnet, which is most of you know, I guess, but the European Schoolnet is a network of 31 European ministries of education based in Brussels, aiming to bring innovation to teaching and learning and to reach a wide range of stakeholders. And Marina works hard to promote STEM education, so science, technology, engineering, and math around Europe, and she coordinates the teacher panels for Scientix. Scientix is a community for science education, and I'm sure she'll tell us a bit more about that. Looking forward to your presentation, Marina.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Hello, everyone. As Anne kindly said, my name is Marina, and I work for the Scientix project, which is the Community for Science Education in Europe, in which, among other things, we do a lot of training for teachers or for other STEM professionals. So I'm not going to go into detail on Scientix. I've tried to frame this presentation pretty much on the work that we have done over the last year and a half. We have organized 9 different communities of practice. So I wanted to make a very specific presentation on that work and portray some of my personal professional experience organizing these communities of practice. So let's begin, So let's begin defining what are these Scientix communities of practice. So these are moderated online forums, which are specifically designed for STEM professionals. And as Anne mentioned before, STEM means science, technology, engineering, and maths. I want to start by saying 5 main characteristics of these Scientix communities of practice that I think might be different from some other communities that are organized. So first of all, the fact that we focus in a very particular area, which is STEM, and also in a very particular topic for each one of the COPs, which is, for instance, we've had technical topics such as we did host a community of practice on Creative Commons. We had some others with a practical focus on flipped classrooms, social subjects like gender and sciences, which was my favorite actually. And we could even put like a more fun twist. We did one on science and science fiction, which I happen to realize a lot of science teachers in Europe like Star Trek a lot, which was fun. The second characteristic of the Scientix communities of practice is that they run for a limited amount of time. They just run for 2 weeks. And afterwards, the word of comments, it will still remain accessible to everyone, but it will be closed, so no one will be able to comment anymore. The third characteristic is the fact that we always include resources. We always make them available for participants because we try to keep in mind that some of the users might be interested in further inquire on the topic, so we always try to have some extra resources. The fourth characteristic is the fact that we always try to include an expert who is equally good at moderating forums. I think that this has been discussed on the chat before, but we actually always include a moderator, even 2 or 3 sometimes, because we want experts that can give very specialized input on the communities, and we also always ask them to moderate. The fifth characteristic, and that's my last, is that we always try to provide with an outcome of the COP. So we always present conclusions and policy recommendations. We sometimes add tips for teachers because we know that is our main audience. And sometimes, no, always actually, we always add a list of resources. We have realized that people, while commenting, they share a huge amount of resources that they always want to have accessible in a short click. So we always try to move them in a separate section of our community. So moving on. Oh no! First, I just wanted to add some screenshots on the Scientix communities of practice, so you were able to see how do they look before you hopefully enter our portal. So this one is the main page of a community. You can see in the middle the join the discussion part, the experts. You can have the link to the conclusions. Then this is how it looks. We try to divide it into subtopics sometimes. So this is how topic page would look like. On the top right area, you can see the useful resources that I was mentioning before. And this is the page where we normally put all the resources, where we gather the resources. So next, on to the benefits of the Scientix communities of practice. Again, I want to mention that I've gathered it from professional experience organizing these communities, so it might not be the case for some others, but it works for Scientix. So first of all, I want to mention the adaptive capacity versus the specificity on its design. That was hard to pronounce. Even though our communities of practice are pretty constricted, as they just last for 2 weeks and they have a very specific topic, I believe that they still allow for some degree of flexibility in the topic and also in participation, which can also be a burden, but as I'm talking about the benefits, it might be a benefit for the user to be able to participate in the level that they want to participate. Maybe they just want to read the comments, maybe they want to be very active, that's up to them. The second benefit that I want to mention is, I guess, the most obvious one. It's the sharing of knowledge and the transfer of expertise. What I want to point out about this is the fact that in a same space we have professional, more theoretical knowledge, but people do really share a lot of personal experience, knowledge, let's say, a lot of input on that sense, and also a lot of resources, a lot of links, and we are able to have all of this in a same space. I think that's the main benefit. The third benefit I want to mention is, of course, the increased sense of connection and trust between the members of the community. I have to say that we played with a little bit of advantage in Scientix because our main audience were people who were already part of the Scientix community of practice, so they already knew each other and they had been in a same face-to-face event. But for me, I guess the communities of practice, they represented yet another way to keep on with that professional contact, and it enabled them to distinguish specific people that might be very knowledgeable on a particular topic, being Creative Commons, being flipped classrooms, and then it made them easier for them to engage with one another, taking in regard a specific topic. And then the last benefit that I want to mention, it's the fact that communities of practice, they lower the costs of participation for users. First of all, in our case, they lasted just for 2 weeks, which meant that users had to be connected specifically during those 2 weeks. And as they were open 24/7 during those 2 weeks, they would be able to participate whatever they wanted from whatever they wanted, because of course it was online. So the costs of participating on the COP, of course, they were reduced at, for instance, going to a face-to-face event. So those were the main benefits, and now, of course, we have to mention some setbacks that we have encountered. First of all, I think this one is very obvious, the digital gap. Technology might still not be available for everyone, and that is a must in online communities of practice, so that's, of course, a setback. The second one, it is that diversity of contributions and contributors, and that might not look like a setback at first glance, but from the point of view from someone who is organizing a community, the diversity on the background of the attendees might cause problems in 2 ways. The first one, in the framing of the discussion. For instance, do I want to do something on, let's say, as I've mentioned before, copyright as usage? Do I do it very basic so everybody can have a basic knowledge on it from people who don't know anything about the topic, or do I do it more specific so people who are very knowledgeable about it, they can discuss about it? How do I frame it? That is one problem. And then the second problem is that if I have a very heterogeneous audience and I have someone who knows a lot about something and another person who is just a beginner, how do I make them engage with each other? Because the beginner might not be interested in a very specific information, and the more advanced person might want to be discussing with peers. So how do I frame that? That is an issue that I have encountered. The third one, it's, of course, this has already been mentioned, it's the participants' engagement. Securing regular participation, it's still very, very difficult. It can happen for a number of reasons, participants being insecure to comment, language barriers, etc. I think that can be overcome a little bit by the role maybe of the moderator, but yeah, that is something that we're still dealing with. And then last, the difficult assessment of a community of practice impact. Maybe not in the long term, but in the short term, it's difficult to put it in numbers or in specific actions. We know that they're beneficial. We have proved that in a more in a long-term way, but to give like short-term numbers, that still proves to be a little bit difficult. So that's it about setbacks. And now I want to finish these presentations by giving some tips for community builders, which hopefully they will be a little bit helpful. The first one, this one looks also like a little bit obvious, but it's always to frame your topic of choice to your audience. It has to be something that it appeals for them. And then also to publicize it. If you don't publicize it, if you don't make it available for a lot of people, it's a very pretty thing, but it won't reach your audience. The second one is to ensure a safe and trusting environment. If you don't do that, people won't feel secure to participate. And I'm not only talking about the platform itself, but also the comment section. You need to make sure there's not inappropriate comments or irrelevant comments, and that it's trustworthy, that people trust in putting maybe even some personal information about their experiences on that forum. Then third, always to keep in mind digital literacy. Of course, not everybody has the same skills, so you're gonna want to ensure that the platform is, first of all, intuitive, and well, you can achieve that by making it very visual. So the easier, the better. If it's complicated, through my experience, people get confused, they can get lost. So if they're not very acquainted with the model, I think that's very important. And then maybe the most important one, the most important tip is to always, always, always ask for constructive feedback. Over the course of 9 different communities of practice, we have had some changes. We have introduced some new features or eliminated some old features, and that has always been through asking feedback to our audience. So that is the overall tip. Thanks for listening to me on this presentation, and I'm open for any, I haven't got any specific question, but I'm open for any kind of questions on this. Hello, Anne.
Thank you so much, Marina. Also for including some a specific slide sharing your tips. I think we got quite some community builders in among the list of our participants, so they would appreciate also. I was also very interested to hear that you limit the time to discuss among people to specific times, so to keep it focused. I think there was a question on those 2 weeks discussions and how you get moderators. I think I don't know who it was in the chat, but someone asked whether the moderators are part of the community or whether you get them in from your organization, so to speak.
We've gotten them from very different places. We have had staff from European Schoolnet that were specialized on a particular topic to be moderators. We have had experts from other projects. We have had members of the Scientix community of practice. I always just try to pick someone who I know is gonna be very knowledgeable on the topic, and who is, I expect they're gonna be a good moderator as well. And yeah, it's been very varied. It has really been depending on the particular topic. For instance, on the one about science and gender, I guess I'm pretty knowledgeable about gender issues. So I myself appointed myself as the expert for that one. So it really depends on the different topic of the community.
Okay, great. So for the upcoming 5 minutes, I'd like to ask everyone, each of our presenters, back to the room, because I think we get some general questions too that were asked here in the chat that might also Randolph want to answer on, and Nicola or Maria from GIZ. Alistair was mentioning here, it's like whether there is a big layover also from, or a similarity between just teaching a class or building a community of practice. For example, heterogeneous groups were mentioned quite often. here, and that might pose a challenge in virtual communities of practice. What do you think?
Well, since I was the last one to ask, to talk, maybe somebody else wants to answer the question. I'm not sure.
Just
So
no.
She
I don't
quickly
want.
disappeared.
Okay. Maybe I would like to comment on Alistair's question. If community or group work in a course is the same as, well, collaboration in virtual communities, and I think yes, a good course should be a good community, but I think that a course has the advantage that the time is limited. So I think for participants it's easier to engage, to be active within a course, having in mind that it's just a few weeks or months to be active, and the challenge for communities, or at least for in our case Educal, is in the moment you decide to engage, you the commitment is different. So the time is not limited. You have to spend time on a more regular base. So I think that is the issue with the motivation. It's easier to be motivated to be active in a course than in a virtual community.
All right, thanks, Nicola. Any comments on that? Because I got another question that I was wondering to ask you, and this also relates to a little poll that I to be shared, to hear also from the audience what you think. I think Alistair is here to help us to bring up the poll on language. I'm interested to know how you decided how to go about linguistic matters, because I know you've been all working or active in European or international communities of practice. So that means that you you are trying to engage or engaging people who have different first languages. So I was wondering how you approached that matter. Did people go for, did you encourage to go for a lingua franca, or do you engage people or encourage people just to write in their own language, for example?
Well, for Scientix, I have to say we have a very, very international community among all Europe, and we've normally carried on the COPs always in English, but we have received feedback of participants informing us of other participants not wanting to participate because of a language barrier. So that is still an issue. We have considered informing the participants that they can actually comment on any of the languages, their mother tongue languages, but so far it hasn't happened, so we have kept it in English. What we have done, it's because we know that our audience is very international. When we put up the conclusions of the communities of practice, or any tips or any policy recommendations, we always make sure to translate them in all the EU official languages, because we've also received some feedback of people being interested in this little outcome. So we made sure that we had it translated for the 24 different languages, and that has proven to be quite popular. So that's my experience for Scientix.
Okay, wow. So quite some translation work there. Yes, Randolph?
Yes.
Yeah, we had that discussion on this on multilinguality also in our group, of course, and so It took us a longer time, and I see this also because we talked about EPAL. I think they have the same problem here. Should we have local discussions, local collaborations, or more, in our case, European discussions and so on. So, but our solution, there is no, I think there is not one solution, one best way or so. What we did is we said, of course, in a European context, dealing with European problems, you must be able to discuss things, exchange across language borders. So it's not possible to get together and to exchange things without having a common language. So and then we decided for English. Finally, decided for English as the, let's say, the language of communication. So, but we thought also and we have done that. We have built in translation tools wherever we could. So, for example, you can automatically translate whole web pages, the whole community contributions, and of course, your synchronous or asynchronous communication. You can basically translate everything. I don't know if this is really helpful, but this is at least some kind of an improvement, though people are not forced to stick to English to 100%. They are also able to translate discussions or comments or something, and of course, with all the problems of let's say translations, but I think this is the solution we found so far. I think it did not make sense for us to create Italian communities, German communities, or Norwegian, I don't know what. So this is the solution, a very pragmatic solution we found.
Thanks for that. I've seen here, I think Alicia was typing that, of course, everyone writing in one's own language would be the perfect solution, but since automated translation is not perfectionated yet, and also not available in every language, we are still far from that, I guess. So and also in the chat, I see. Sorry.
Sorry, Annika, I just wanted to add a short comment regarding Educal, because I think this is one of sorry for that. Sorry, I think it's one of the advantages of this community, because we have a common language. Because we have been also working in other communities, and we always try to use the English as the common language, but it doesn't always work because of the comments that we are just writing in the chat.
Okay, great. Yeah. So also thanks to everybody who's casted the vote here on the two questions. Quite some people who engage regularly or occasionally in communities of practice, and most people thought that it would work best just to work with a lingua franca in a community of practice. So thanks to everybody, thanks to our speakers and presenters during the day. I hope everybody is happy about having learned about 3 different communities, one from Latin America, 2 having a European reach out, so to speak, and feel free to check out the websites. On the bottom left side, you see links, the web links to the Scientix community, to the Discuss community, as well as Educ. So feel free to join if the topic of the community matches your background. But I guess most of them have a rather broad, let's say, a broad span as discussed, where most of our participants might feel some interesting topics, science teaching for Scientix, and for all Spanish speakers based in Latin America, take a look at Educ. So thanks Marina, Randolph, Nicola and Maria, and hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. To all the participants out there, we'll share the recording with you after this webinar, and so you can rewatch it, and it will also be posted on the Discuss community website. So thanks everybody, and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you, Anne.